Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hello everybody, Carrie here with Unicorn Company, and today we are going to be taking a look at the BattleTech paint starter. Now this comes with several speed paints. Excuse me. This comes with several speed paints, and these are by Army Painter. They're basically paints from the Army Painter speed paint line. And I want to go ahead and talk about what's in this box, what you get, and show you some of the results that you get from using these. So, starting off, I'm going to open up the package, slide everything out. And before we get into the paints, we have... we have like your normal little Army Painter thing, talks about the paints, brushes, stuff like that, and also has a thing for if you're missing stuff. Just throw that back there. Then we have the Army Painter painting guide. Now this, it's a free little booklet. It's more geared towards like Warhammer 40K, stuff like that. Gives you some basics on like color theory, basic mini painting stuff, basing, you know, your basic stuff like that. And like I said, it's more geared towards like your 28 mil stuff, but it does give you an idea of what they have out there and basics on like how to do some painting with some standard paints and also like washes and stuff like that. And then we have the BattleTech painting guide, and this gives you basics on how to use the the paints that come in the box, and it gives you the war paint and the speed paint range, which I'm tempted to cover this entire speed paint range. If y'all are interested in that, let me know. And then we have the paints themselves. Now, this comes with 10 paints total. 5 of them are what you would call war paints, and 5 of them are speed paints. So, the war paints, you have a brown, battlefield brown, which would be used for like your basing. You have factory primer, which is a white paint, white brush-on primer. You have hazard yellow, actuator metal, and PPC blue. Standard war paints. Then you have the speed paints. You have Kurita Red, Davian Green, Merrick Purple, Steiner Blue, and Layout Green. And you also get a brush. Now it's supposed to go up here, but it does not lock into place. I have already painted some miniatures, and we will go ahead and look at those real quick and talk about the paints. So give me just 1 second. Let's get down to it. All right, so let's look at the actual paints, at least the speed paints. Now, of course, the war paints are pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, it's like a mid-brown, a yellow, like a gunmetal color, a light blue, and a white brush-on primer. Now, we are going to compare the difference between using brush-on primer and using spray primer, because I have already colored several mechs with these, painted, whatever you want to say. Let's start off with what I think is the brightest of these colors. and that is the Lao Green. Now, for the Lao Green, we have one model that was primed with a spray can, and the other which was primed with a primed with the brush. Now, this is the brush-on primer mech. This is a spider. And I mean, you can see the detail. It goes into the recesses pretty well. It's a little uneven when you think about it, simply because of the fact that you're using a paint-on primer. But using almost just what's in the box, I mean, this is... There we go. Using just what's in the box, I think that came out pretty well. Now, comparatively, we have a white spray primer, and this was Krylon white spray primer. This isn't anything special. It's a semi-gloss spray primer, so it's not, it's not matte. And you can see there is a difference in the amount of clarity, as it were, between the two different primers. This one, there's not a lot of pooling, but you do have to be careful. Bring the background up, maybe it'll want to focus more. You have to be careful about pooling, but overall, like I said, it's pretty good. Now, the metallic, even over white, requires a few coats, and it doesn't come with a wash. Any wash work you see here, like on the white on this Warhammer, is done after a gloss coat, and then it's brushed up a little. And like I said, that is this color here, the Lao Green. So that's the paint, and these are the results that you can get from it. This brush on, that is spray on primers. Let's scoot this over a tiny bit. There we go. So that's the kind of results you can expect with that one. This is a beautiful bright green when it goes on. Of course, if you use a darker primer, like a gray instead of a white, you're going to get a darker color. This would be useful for house layout units. It can be useful for basically anything that has a bright green to it. One area I could see this being very useful for is Clan Jade Falcon. A lot of them like that bright green. So, that kind of gives you that. Now, the next one we're going to look at here is Davian green, which is going to be your more military green. It's like it's closer to an OD green than it is to the bright green. And of course, we have the model that was done with the brush-on primer. In this case, a Night Sky. And as you can see, once again, there's spots where you can tell the brush-on primer went on a little bit better than others. And of course, pooling, once again, is an issue. And then you have spray-on primer, which it's much more even. And, it's very, it finds the recesses better than it does with the brush-on primer. Now, mind you, if we're talking about OD green here, this is something I want to mention. This is lighter than what you're going to get with, like, if you use a OD green paint. So your standard OD green paint is going to give you something similar to this. Olive drab green is really that. It's olive drab green. It has a lot of drab brown in it. So this is with like an OD green paint that's made for painting military models. And as you can see, there's a big difference in the way that it presents. Now, I will say, In less well-lit areas, the actual OD green reads more like almost a black under certain lighting, whereas this is going through under less, I don't want to say under less better, under poor lighting, this is going to read as a green still. This is going to read more close to a black. So, but it is a good military green. Personally, my personal preference is towards something a little bit more realistic as far as in that spectrum, but it's not a bad paint. I do like it. And once again, I prefer the spray on to the brush on simply because of the fact that it picks up detail way better in the spray on application than it does in brush on. So after that, let's go ahead and look at the blue. And one of the reasons I want to look at the blue is because Steiner Blue is pretty much spot on for like if you're doing Lyrangards. Lyrangards are an interesting paint scheme to do. One, because of the fact that you have stuff that is just going, you have things that are colored different colors in certain parts of the mech and so forth and so on. And, it can be kind of a pain in the ass. So that one of the things you have to think about is, does this stay where you want it to stay? And I have to say, yes, it absolutely does. Now, that's my cat, by the way. She's saying hi. This is a funny case because this is one of the cases where it's harder to tell the spray on from the brush on, but you can still tell. This is the brush on primer. As you can see, like I said, this is spot on Lyran Blue. This is perfect Lyran Blue. I absolutely love it. Also, as far as will it stay where you want it to stay? Yes. I mean, if you look at, you look at here, it's like on the inside of the leg, it's right where you want it to be. On this part where you just literally go down on a panel, it stays right there. Same with on the back. It's thin enough to go into the recesses, but it's not so thin that it's just going to go everywhere like an ink. And then here is the spray on. And as you can see, the spray on, it's a little bit smoother, but overall, you're getting roughly the same quality. I think maybe it's because I got better at doing the brush on primer by the time I got to this, but yeah. The Steiner Blue, absolutely wonderful, especially if you are doing Lyrangards. If you're doing Lyrangards, this is perfect. It'll stay where you want it to go. Like right here, you can see I literally just ran it down on a part where there's no panel or anything. No, Itty, don't mess with the tripod. Sorry about that. My cat is being a cat. But yeah, you can see where like it just goes, it stays where you put it, which is an absolutely wonderful thing. I was worried that this would want to run and go into recesses where you're not trying to put it, and it does not do that. It stays where you put it. It comes out beautiful. I really like this paint. And if you're doing that kind of paint job where you have one section that's one color and one that's another, it's going to come out looking the way you want it to look for the most part. So that is Steiner Blue. We then have Merrick Purple. And this is, hold up. All right, so once again, multicolored. We have the brush on primer here, the spray on primer here. Scoot that over. And then the color right there. Now, mind you, this is, like I said, it's over white paint. The spray on primer on this one actually had a little bit of weirdness to the texture, but it still worked. As you can look at the top, you can see where it went down into recesses. And once again, it stays where you want it to stay, which is wonderful. If you're doing multicolored paint schemes, it's not something that's going to run away from you and get in places you don't want it to get to. You just be careful with your brush. though, as it transfers, you can see on the inside of the arm right there, really easily. And it's very, very high pigment for being a speed paint. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I love how it came out, and I'm very happy with it. Let's see. And I mean, yeah, this one, once again, goes into recess as well. Does a really good job of coverage. You don't need to do like 2 coats or anything like that. You don't want to be super heavy on it, but you don't need to like go coat after coat after coat to get it the way you want. And finally, spray on primer, brush on primer for Kurita Red. Now, the red is wonderful, but at the same time, it's not. And the reason I say this is because of the fact that if you look at this red, it's very vibrant. It's bright. It's in your face. It's, hi, how you doing? I'm red. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The downside about it, and if you look at the top of the nose on the dragon, you can see where the brush strokes from the primer, and anywhere you really look, if there's any difference between the brush strokes, you can tell. I see a couple spots I missed, but yeah, the brush strokes on the red come through, because it's, even though it's highly pigmented, it is very very clear for being a paint. This one is more like an ink than a paint. And then, of course, here's the grasshopper. You can see I do have some pooling on one of the shoulder panels. But otherwise, it goes right where you want it. Goes into all the recesses. Works beautifully. And I really like these. As a beginner thing, they're really good. And like I said, you get the 5 speed paints right here. All right. And these are all good paints. These are wonderful. I absolutely love them. I wish they did a line more geared towards the clans, because the clans do have some different painting, like there's some browns and stuff that the clans like to use and stuff like that. And I feel like that would be better reflected, with their own line. Now on the box, it does say that these can be used for clans and inner sphere, which is true. Like I said, the Liao green is going to be wonderful for people who are painting it like Falcon Guards. But then we also have the more opaque paints that come in it. We have the PPC Blue, which is a nice bright blue. Actuator Metal, which we'll talk about in a minute. Hazard Yellow. Factory Primer, which is a white primer. And Battlefield Brown. Now, if you've ever worked with any opaque paints, these are going to be pretty familiar to you. I will say the Actuator Metal takes a few coats to get good coverage. And I really think, as far as like, if you want to talk about any drawbacks to this paint set, I would say that if anything, I would have replaced the PPC Blue with a black or a near black gray, simply because you don't have any black in here, and without black, you can't do certain things. You can't do the insides of like autocannon barrels properly. You can't do the insides of jump jets properly. Stuff like that. Or maybe even include like a black wash. Pretty standard stuff. The other thing I will say, this comes with what's called a starter brush. Says it on the, it's not focusing, but there we go. Starter brush. So it comes with what they call a starter brush, which size-wise is not really what you're going to want for this. What you're going to want is something a little bit bigger with a flat head to it, usually, simply to get you a good amount of coverage. Now, mind you, when you're doing stuff like this, yes, the little starter brush comes in handy because you can guide it better, especially on smaller areas like on that shoulder pad or on these little hip check pads or whatever they are. But the starter brush is not good for good overall coverage. Now, I do want to, of course, let you know that this was all brought to, all this stuff here was gotten through Fortress Miniatures and Games. Go ahead and check them out at fortressminiaturesandgames.com. The owner there, Bobby, he is a wonderful guy. I really like his customer service, and he has a great attitude, and he runs Southern Assault every year, and I absolutely think he is a great resource for the community and a big supporter of it. So, like I said, check out fortressminiaturesandgames.com. They're going to have just about anything you need for BattleTech. They do carry the... they do carry this. This is who we got it through. And I want to say that it is... Let me check. I will get you the price on it real quick. All right, yeah, so this comes in at $33.74. Normally it retails for $44.99, so you're getting almost a 25% discount on it, which is pretty good. I want to say it's about a 20% discount. And he also does carry the Speed Paint Mega Set if you're looking to get that, which runs $74.99 there, which usually runs $99. And that would give you the entire range of speed paints. I am going to go ahead and see about getting that Speed Paint Mega Set if you all are interested. And that way I can go ahead and do a review of it for you if you all like this video and want me to... Oh, it looks like he also has the Speed Paint Mega Set 2.0 Plus. So, yeah, we're going to see about getting one of the Mega Sets if you all like this, and we can go over all the different colors and how they look on the miniatures, and you know. So that is it for everything today. Like I said, you're gonna have some awesome mechs painted with this set in the raffle. I am likely going to include I'm going to see if I can pick up another of the paint starters and include that in the raffle as well. So, you know, that's pretty much everything. If you like what we're doing here, please like the video, hit the subscribe button to get updates. Also, you can help support the podcast and the channel by going to patreon.com/unicorn company and signing up as a patron there. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of my patrons who have helped make this possible. Until next time, this is Carrie signing off.
I'm gonna find my meaning, I can make a change. I wanna play the game. You wanna sink or swim?